Hi everyone, this is Ellen. So I want to get down in my journal that I injured myself yesterday. And I injured myself. It did not have to happen, but it happened because I did what I tend to do. And so that's what I'm trying to train myself out of. So I was doing the half crouch soleus stretch that I showed in the first video, and I wasn't paying attention. So I was watching a video while I was doing it. And sometimes I will just, instead of having a timer, I will just run a stopwatch because I know my body will probably want to go beyond 5 minutes, because sometimes it just takes that longer for my body to kind of loosen up a little bit, like in that given stretch. So I did that, and I was expecting to go no more than 10 minutes. And anyway, I was watching the video, wasn't paying attention, and I looked at the stopwatch and 18 minutes had gone by. And I was feeling a little bit of discomfort in my Achilles, and also in my, like at the insertion point of my Achilles, and also in my soleus muscle. And me being me, I looked at 18 minutes and I'm like, no, I did 18 minutes. I may as well go for 20. Like, I'm not going to stop at 18 minutes. So I continued until 20 minutes, and I injured myself. I probably had already injured myself, but I certainly didn't help myself by going further. So this is a challenge for me. So I want to look at this astrologically because I think it's really interesting. So I'm a Capricorn, and Capricorn is about self-mastery. And we could say that there are like 3 Capricorn paths. One is to deny or ignore, you could say. Denying would be a form of ignoring what's going on. So you're not paying attention. One would be to suppress what's going on, to more actively suppress what's going on, and that's not helping you either. You're not learning anything. You can't improve over time if you're doing that. Same with the denial path. And then the third way is self-mastery, where you're actually learning. You're paying attention to the feedback, and you're learning how to navigate that in a skillful way, a masterful way that allows you to improve over time and sustain improvement over time. So the practice that I grooved when I was growing up as my strategy was suppression. So I suppressed my emotions. I worked to override the signals of my body so that I could accomplish what I wanted to accomplish, based on my idea of what I thought I should be doing. So then I have Saturn in Aquarius, and that's in the 5th house. In the quadrant house system, it's in the 5th house. If we do a whole sign house system, it's in the 6th house, but I'm going to work with the 5th house for this video. So Aquarius is about goals. And so what happened in that moment was that I prioritized a goal over, and I was willing to risk what my body, the potential negative of effects of what my body, the signals my body was giving me, to achieve a goal that was was meaningless. So that is a habit of mine. And that's what I'm, part of what I'm trying to do is break myself out of that, because all I do is, it just drives me over the edge time after time after time. So, and if I can learn, this, then I'll be able to run again, and I'll also be able to participate in life again. So my stated goal is, road back to running. I'm focusing on specific exercises that are geared towards somebody who wants to run. But the other idea is that by engaging in fitness, mindful fitness, I'm also helping to build my body so that I can actually be in the world in a regular way. So I don't have to be lying down so much. I can engage in social activity. I'm an introvert, so if I love engaging with people, but it doesn't give me energy when I do that. It drains my energy. So I have to be really, with my energy levels low to begin with, I have to be really careful about that. So there's 2 prongs to this work that I'm doing. One is, I want to run again. It's really important. There's actually 3 prongs. 2 is, I really love to move, and I would love to work with people movement-wise, but I things like this, I'm not reliable right now. I have to be reliable for myself first. And then the third is be able to engage in the world and maybe, get a job, be able to sustain a job while I work out how to be able to help people and work out my relationship with my fitness. So all of that is kind of at play. That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. It just gives me a way to work through my own patterns in a strategic way that will set me up for success. So anyway, that's so all of that is the idea. But so I encounter what are my patterns, and this is one of the reasons I like astrology. Is it helps me, it gives me a language. We don't need astrology. We don't need any of these esoteric languages. But for me, what astrology is somebody who's so disconnected from my spirit, from my soul in a certain way. It's like a language. It's like the breadcrumb language that helps me return to myself. So that's why I value astrology a lot. It's a language that makes sense to me. If we look a little further at my chart, I have Pluto and Uranus conjunct in Virgo, and they're in the 12th house. And again, that's the quadrant house system. In the whole sign house system, they're in the first house. So Pluto, Uranus, and Virgo in the 12th house, what is that? That's about unlearning, and it's retrograde, so it's rethinking. It's like something hasn't been gotten here. And what hasn't been gotten is that the body is the channel for the spirit. And if we think over the millennia, the last few millennia, the body has been framed as a sign that we are bad. The body, the fact that we are here on earth in physical body form, has been interpreted as we have done something wrong and we are being punished. That's not true. The other way to interpret this experience that we're having in body form is that we've either been given or chosen an opportunity to experience life at this level so that so that we could learn, we could enjoy our senses, so that we could achieve certain goals that we might have in mind, so that we can learn specific things that we want to learn. We can think of this, I've heard spiritual teachers talk about this as like a school. Earth is like a school. These bodies, being in body form on this earth is like a school. Spirit can do anything and everything, right? In body form, we always say, well, we can be or do anything we want. Well, sure, I guess, but we all also, not everybody has the same gifts and talents. And so we have gifts and talents, so why not enter into those and learn those and build that? To me, the gifts and talents, so Taurus is the first earth sign, and so that's our gifts and talents. So why not take that raw material of the gifts and talents that we just naturally have and learn the practices of those, Virgo, and then go out in the world and master, because kind of relate to the world, enter into the world, and develop mastery of with the skills we've developed. Does that make sense? So I've talked about this triad, this earth triad, a lot, because I have a moon in Taurus, I have a ascendant in Virgo, and I have my sun in Capricorn. So I have a lot of earth, and they're all in water houses. Again, that's whole sign. That's quadrant water houses. I guess if we were to look at whole signs, they would actually be, I guess it would be fire. But anyway, I've always thought of it as having earth and water. So that was a big aside, but if you're interested in astrology, it can help us understand ourselves more. It can help us articulate the patterns that we're experiencing, and that for me helps me understand it more. So seeing the Saturn in Aquarius, that drive, willing to risk it to achieve a goal, Saturn Aquarius, 5th house. I got that yesterday. I don't know if I got it enough for it to finally shift, just magically. I think I'll have to still work at it. But I saw it in a way I hadn't seen it before. Anyway, so you can injure yourself when stretching. So it's really important not to go into strain when stretching. It's really important to pay attention to the signals when stretching, especially when holding for these long stretch holds. You can injure yourself doing anything really. So that's something that I wanted to, so I just wanted to log this in the journal. I woke up, so yesterday I did, I did some massaging of the area, and also did some, rolling with a ball in the area. And then I also took a dose of my homeopathy remedy. I have a constitutional remedy that is helpful for me, so I did that. And then this morning I woke up as really stiff. So for sure, a lot of times I'll think I really hurt something, and then the next morning it's just perfectly fine. So this time it was really stiff. So sure, yeah, I for sure did too much. So I did some more massaging and rolling, and I'll do some more today. And I took another dose of my homeopathy remedy, and I'll do some more of all of that today. And I think it'll just take a little time before it repairs. The good news, though, is this happened at a really perfect time, because yesterday or the day before, I can't remember. So the reason I prioritize soleus stretches, I talked about that in the first video. It's the second heart, and also it's a really important muscle for running. And I have chronic tightness in my soleus. And so the question, though, that has to be asked is, why do I have chronic tightness in my calves? So one reason could be that my soleus are actually really weak. And years ago, I tried building strength in my soleus, and I couldn't do it. And so my interpretation of that, again, I'm not a physical therapist, I'm not a body worker, I don't have any kind of training, in terms of any of that. I'm just somebody finding my way and trying to make sense of things. My interpretation of that was that my calves were too tight to be able to build strength on, so they were already too contracted. So to me, that suggested that my soleus being tight because they weren't strong didn't make sense. Because if that were the case, I should have been able to build strength. At least that's my reasoning. I don't know if there's any truth to that. But the other thing is that, so Ida Rolf, who created the whole Rolfing approach to body work, she's famous for having said something like, if where you think it is, it ain't. And so the idea being that our whole body is interconnected. So we have this fascial sheath that interconnects every part of our body. And so we can have a symptom expressing in one part of our body, but the origin of that can be somewhere else, anywhere in the body. So we could have a symptom in our soleus, and the origin could be the back of our skull, like literally. So one thing we can do, though, is we can kind of methodically start to work through things. So you can look at, again, I'm not saying, I'm just sort of saying this is my thinking, my thought process, and how I'm kind of approaching it. So are there specific areas, other areas in my body that are tight, for example? Might that be the problem? In this case, what I decided to do is, it's like, okay, what's like up the chain from my soleus, and what's down the chain from my soleus? So feet and ankles are down the chain from my soleus, and my knees and hips and core and shoulders and head and neck are up the chain. But I got interested in my hips and pelvis, because the running movement is really have that ability for the pelvis and hips to move the way they're designed to move is really important in the running movement, especially if that torso rotation approach is going to be used. So if you have tight, like kind of frozen hips, which I think a lot of us probably do because we spend so much time sitting, then it's going to be really challenging to get the most out of our running motion. So what I decided to do, and it makes sense to me also, that if my hips and pelvis are not functioning right, if they're stiff and frozen and just not moving the way they should be, then my legs, including and maybe especially my lower legs, are going to have to take up a lot of that slack. And so that could lead to tight soleus muscles. That's the way that I'm thinking about it. So what I decided to do was start kneeling, tall kneeling walking. And the idea being, let's just take my lower legs out of the whole process and see if I can start to engage with my soleus muscle. I'm not going to demonstrate this today. I'll do it another time. And so the idea being to move from the hips or the pelvis first, or you could even say from the core first, but I think about moving from the pelvis. Like not moving from the knee, moving from the pelvis, and the knee kind of following the movement of the pelvis. So that's how I'm thinking about it, and I'll demonstrate it in another video. And so I was doing that, and for the first time in my life, I'm sure when I was a very young kid I felt it, but for the first time in my life that I remember, I could feel my hips actually moving. And then when I got up and did a little bit of walking just around the apartment, because you got to walk around the apartment sometimes, I could feel my hips engaging, and I had never felt that. And I even tried some crawling. So crawling is a good first kind of reset movement. And I've tried doing that in the past, and I always hated it. And I did some yesterday, and I realized the reason I hated it was because my joints were just stiff. My hips weren't moving in that movement. I also don't enjoy walking generally, or haven't. Like, it doesn't energize me. It's really a drain. And I realized that the reason that's true for me is because my hips are frozen. Now, here's the other thing. So if you think about the hips, they're associated. So I think the hips are associated with the pelvis. I think is associated with the second chakra, and the hips may be the first, or I might have that mixed up. But they're associated with the first two chakras. And if you think about the torso rotation, well, that's going to activate. That's going to sort of target your third chakra, and I suppose in a way your kind of your whole chakra system really. But the focusing on tall kneeling walking is really engaging or activating, perhaps, I don't know what the right language is, the first three chakras of the body. And those are chakras that energize the body. And I felt really energized after doing tall kneeling walking in a way that I never had. And I realized, my interpretation of everything, that the reason walking wasn't energizing for me, which it should be. We humans are designed to walk, and it makes sense that walking would be a recharging movement for us. I think the reason it wasn't recharging for me is because of my pelvis. One reason was because my pelvis was not engaging. The recharging, it seems to me, comes from the pelvis engaging and that activating those first three chakras. Again, my interpretation of things. I'm not saying this is true, but this was my experience, and this is how I'm making sense of it. So then the question becomes, does running have to be an activity that drains us, that depletes us? Can we engage in running in a way that actually is energizing for us, instead of wearing us down? I think that's an important question. And there's somebody, I can't remember the name of the person. I can't remember. I think he's an Ayurvedic practitioner, and he was a triathlete, and he wrote a book about nasal breathing, and he said it completely transformed his running. So I think nasal breathing, my personal opinion, my personal feeling is that nasal breathing is important. Not everybody agrees with that. From the perspective of going at the pace that's true for our body and allowing our body to build up to build itself up to quicker speeds rather than driving and forcing our body to go faster because we want it to. There are different ways that we can go about this. And again, this is Capricorn, right? Are we going to force and drive ourselves, to a goal, or are we going to learn to partner with our bodies and learn its secrets to how to actually work with our body and improve our bodies. So I think that nasal breathing is one piece of the puzzle. I did some of that. It didn't really energize me, but it's not going to. I think it's not going to if I don't have the other pieces at play. So the hips and pelvis, I think, are really important. Ankles and feet are probably really important. Shoulders are probably really important. The whole thing is really important. I think the torso rotation, I'm starting to think, is also really important. And it's torso rotation, it's not torso twisting, and that's key. I didn't address that, and I'm not sure I demonstrated that actually well. I might have given a wrong impression. But I'll put a link for that torso rotation to Lawrence Lindgren's video where he talks about this, and I really recommend his channel. He's got a lot of instructional videos, like from the start with breathing, and then kind of then integrating breathing with movement and sort of this progression, and then talking about running and that sort of thing. So I really recommend his channel. I feel like I feel like I'm like drinking in nectar. Like somebody is finally explaining running and breathing in a way that makes sense to me. And so I'm excited about his work. So I'll put a link to that one video where he talks about that, especially where he talks about its rotation, it's not twisting. But there are other videos where he goes into other details too about that and other things. So anyway, that's my video for today. Just remember, and this is for me and for you too, it is possible to injure yourself stretching. So you really have to go slow and mindful and be paying attention and not overdo. You can overdo stretching too. So that's it for now. Thank you for listening. Yeah, I'll leave it there. Okay. One final thing. Because I wasn't really thinking about bringing astrology into these videos, I decided, because fitness is off topic to Astrology Journal. Astrology Journal is what it says, a journal about astrology. But I really wanted to start journaling about my own recovery efforts to be able to chronicle those. And so I did not. So I set it up so that people who are already subscribers will not get these videos. The first one I sent out to everyone by mistake. I didn't choose the right section. But so you will not be getting these videos by default. Even new subscribers will not be getting these videos by default unless I change it and change the welcome page and explain that you'll be getting these too. I haven't figured that out yet. But so anyway, those of you who are already subscribed, if you want to get these videos, you need to explicitly toggle on the Fitness Journal section in your Astrology Journal subscription. So what you do is you go to your account, you click on your picture and go to account settings. So in the upper right, there's that, you should have what do they call that? That picture of you or whatever's there. Click on that, go to settings, find your list of Substacks that you subscribe to, find Astrology Journal, click on that, and then you'll see a list of sections. And you can toggle on or off any of those sections. So Fitness Journal will be toggled off, but you can toggle that on if you want to receive these. That's that. Okay, that's it. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. Bye.